What's up, everybody? I'm Simon Sabro, and today I'm gonna be talking about the latest manga by the Death Note duo, which is Platinum Men. And for those that don't know, the Death Note duo is Sugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata. And this manga, Platinum Men, it currently has 13 volumes out right now, and it's going to end at 14, so we're just waiting on one more volume. But it also currently has an anime going on, which is, I want to say it's at 8 episodes right now. And really, it's pretty good so far, honestly. But the volume covers are really some of the best volume covers I've seen for manga. And I don't know if the camera could pick it up, but it has like a kind of like a rare foiling pattern on it. And it's like that on all of the volumes on the, I don't think I can see it on the spines, but it's on like the spines, the front and the back. But yeah, for the volume covers, this is definitely some of my favorite that I've seen. Here's volume 2. And, well, the Death Note duo, they have 2 mangas so far, or before this one, sorry, which are Death Note, of course, and Bakuman. And this manga most closely resembles Death Note, not so much Bakuman, because Bakuman is a little more realistic than these two. These are very supernatural works. And Platinum Men is about 13 people who are all suicidal, who get the chance to become God, basically, and they have to compete with each other and in a battle royale kind of format, and the last one standing becomes God. That's pretty much the premise of it. If you've ever seen Mirai Nikki, or Future Diaries, the English name, it's most comparable to that. And to minimize spoilers, I'm only going to talk about the parts of the manga that are where the anime is, which is around, I want to say like the first couple of pages of volume 5. But yeah, it's very comparable to Mirai Nikki, and whereas really the same thing, honestly, with a bunch of people who have a battle royale and the winner becomes a god. But the manga so far, it's, like I said, it's pretty good. I would definitely recommend checking it out. But to talk more about it, so the main character, his name is Mirai, and the book starts out with Mirai, who is about to commit suicide. He's had a pretty rough life, living with his aunt and, I want to say his aunt and her husband, or his uncle and his wife, something like that. But they basically abuse him and whatnot, things like that. And he gets bullied at school, all sorts of things, and he decides one day after he graduates middle school, I want to say, that he wants to take his own life. And this isn't really spoiler, this all happens in the first chapter. But when he decides to jump off of a building, and when he does that, an angel named Nase saves him and gives him the opportunity to become a god candidate. And all god candidates, like you see here, not all of them have wings, but depending on the class of your angel determines what kind of abilities you get. So Mirai gets a special class rank angel, which allows him to have red arrows, which are kind of like Cupid arrows. That's kind of what they call it. Whereas if you shoot anyone with this arrow, they fall in love with you for a set amount of time. And the arrows and the wings, nobody else is able to see. But then there's also white arrows, which are exclusive to special rank candidates, which anybody you shoot with these arrows instantly die. And then there's also wings, which allow you to fly extremely fast. And like I said, nobody could see these wings or arrows except for other god candidates. So this is the latest volume cover, actually. I really like this one. It's probably one of my favorites. This or volume 12 cover. But yeah, so because Mirai is a special rank, he gets all three of those options: the red, the white arrows, and the wings, which allows him to, the goal is to really just be able to find happiness. That's kind of the goal, but because you're a God candidate, your happiness is at risk of other people taking your happiness from you, because their goal is also to become a God candidate. And I think it's like, if no God candidate is chosen within a set amount of time, they all die or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what happens, I don't really remember, but something happens if no one is chosen in a set amount of time. So the art, like I said, is done by Takeshi Obata, and his art is, it's amazing. There's no short way to put it. His art is amazing. Like, in just the first couple of pages here, like I said, Mirai, which is this character here, decides to jump off of a building, and this is his angel Nase who saves him. And this two-page spread right here, is really good. And funny enough, actually, Sugumi Oba as the writer, actually there's not a lot of information about them, such as their real name, gender, or even what they look like really. Sugumi Oba is just a pen name for them. And funny enough, these two, Sugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata, have so much trust in each other that they don't really even meet. And I think that's really cool. Especially if you've read Bakuman and seen how the creators in Bakuman work together. Bakuman is about two people who want to create a manga, and how they work together. It's funny because that's not how the Death Note duo actually work together. They just, I assume, email things to each other back and forth and just go from there. And it's really cool. But like I said, the art in here is really great, as really all of Obata's art in any work that he really puts his pen on. And it starts out as a pretty fun manga. Let me not say it like that. It's kind of serious all the way throughout, but before the battle royale mechanic or whatever is introduced, it's pretty, I don't want to say lighthearted, because it gets into Mirai's backstory pretty quickly, like how I was saying before about how his family mistreat him. And it starts out with basically the family members he lives with murdered his mom and dad and his little brother, I believe, just so they could get money out of it. And what happens here is that Mirai shoots his aunt with a red arrow, and because of the red arrow, she starts to confess that, you know, they really did plan, you know, make a whole scheme or whatever to try and kill his parents to get money out of it. And because of the guilt weighing on her, due to the powers of the red arrow, she takes her own life just due to the guilt from it. And that, seeing that, and the fact that Mirai kind of caused that, changed his perspective on things, where his mom always used to tell him when he was a kid, like, happiness is like the most important thing someone could ever have, and you shouldn't take anyone else's happiness. And he grows up with that mentality heavy, and he has this kind of philosophy that he would rather be bullied than to bully other people. And like I said, he takes that very seriously, and that plays a very big part in his character, where he'd rather be hurt than to hurt others. But due to this, since it's a battle royale, he has to eventually hurt other people in order for him to survive. And just that conflict, or contradiction between the story and his character alone, plays a very big part in what makes this story interesting, as well as seeing how the other 12 god candidates decide to use their wings and arrows in order to make themselves happy. And similar to like in Death Note, there's gonna be a lot of spoilers for Death Note throughout here, but similar to like how in Death Note, it shows what the good and the bad of people when they're given power. And an example of that in the first arc is the main antagonist, which is this guy right here, and his alias is Metro Polyman. That's kind of what he goes around as, which is this character right here, Metro Polyman. And Metro Polyman's ideals is very villainous, kind of, in terms of what Mirai's goals are, where Mirai doesn't want to hurt anybody, he just wants to be happy and have other people be happy. But Polyman's goals are more cutthroat, whereas he's gonna kill whoever he has to kill in order to become a god candidate. And Metro Polyman ends up doing some pretty hardcore stuff. Like in this spread here, he uses a white arrow, and like I said, white arrows instantly kill people, and he uses a white arrow to kill a civilian, just to kind of get, not a civilian but a criminal, so that he could get a lot of popularity on his side from the masses. And he's willing to do all of this for his own goals to become a god. And Metro Polyman's goals are to become a god and revive his sister, his little sister, who died a pretty long time ago. And all the characters, all of the god candidates were at a point suicidal. That's the only way that you could become a god candidate. And at first, when I first read it, I thought it was pretty weird for that to be like the main premise of the book. But because at the time of his writing, I'm not sure if it's still like this, but Japan has a really high suicide count, which kind of explains why they went with this kind of premise. Of course, it's set in Japan, but this, like I said, every character, was suicidal at a point, which helps the characters feel very real, kind of. Not saying it's that equals good writing or anything, but it solidifies their ideals as a character and makes them whole. And it's cool. It's pretty cool. Like I said, it shows the good and bad of people, but this manga is unlike a lot of other manga, specifically like Death Note and Bakuman. However much you know about the manga doesn't really spoil it. Like, for instance, actually in this page here, this girl that Mirai is carrying ends up becoming a teammate of his, and they try to get together to basically get rid of Polyman. That's like their goal together. But seeing the two of them team up, it hurts to know that eventually one of them is gonna have to die, because there could only be one person that becomes a god. And like I said, similar to Mirai Nikki, that was also a thing with Gasai Yuno, and I want to say the main character's name was also Mirai, but I'm not too sure about that. But one of the major turning points in the story that really kicks off the conflict is when Metro Polyman invites just about all of the other god candidates to go to a stadium where he's gonna make an announcement. And at this stadium, Metro Polyman tries to basically he kind of wants to just kill them right then and there and just get it over with. And he chooses this stadium because there is a lot of, if you have wings, you could easily escape being killed by Polyman. And this, I'm gonna say similar to Death Note very often, but similar to Death Note, this manga has a lot of mind games, and it's very text heavy as opposed to just battle heavy, despite being a battle royale manga. It's more so mind games and outsmarting the other people. And this part here with the stadium specifically shows that a lot, whereas Metro Polyman is trying to trick the other people into revealing themselves. Like for instance, things happen and there's I think they're called like Metro Blue and Metro Yellow, who try to stop Metro Polyman, and they try to recruit people. So this girl comes to team up with Metro Blue and Metro Yellow, and she ends up getting hit by a red arrow by Metro Polyman, and she ends up on Polyman's teams because of how the red arrows work. She's gonna follow him regardless of how she initially feels. And what caused this to happen was that Metro Blue and Metro Yellow were being very cautious, which allowed Polyman to get find an opening and capitalize on it. So it was initially, while they were trying to recruit teammates, they ended up losing a teammate, or losing a potential teammate, because of how cautious they were. And because of that, now I think these ones were like Metro Green and Metro Pink come out to try and help out Blue and Yellow, but Polyman already calculated this beforehand, whereas the Metro Green and Pink aren't actually god candidates, they're just regular old people. And because of the way he Metro Polyman calculated this, he already knew that they would be less cautious in recruiting the next set of people that they showed up to help them. So because they're just regular people, Polyman has the upper hand because they don't know this. And so Polyman comes through and does what he does, and Obata really did what he did with the art here to show Polyman killing Blue and Yellow, I believe. Or I think he hits one with a red arrow and one with a white arrow. And this really solidified Metro Polyman as being a pretty good villain, even though before he already was, but this showed his potential as a character, whereas he's not just a person with some very strong ideals but isn't able to uphold them, but he has strong ideals as well as the conviction to go through with them. And it's really good because, like I said before, Metro Polyman and Mirai's, their goals and the way they want to go about achieving those goals are just so drastically different, similar to Light and L, or specifically actually L and Nier from Death Note, whereas they are very different ends of the spectrum. And there's a moment in here where Metro Polyman takes the little girl hostage and is like, if anyone wants to come and save her, any guy candidate wants to come and save her, then come do it, because he threatens to kill her with a white arrow if nobody shows up. And Mirai, being the person he is who doesn't want to see other people get killed, he wants to help the girl out, but his angel here, Nase, tells him not to move, like stay still. And the girl he's with is freaking out and whatever, and they really want to save the girl, but they know that, and the girl he's with her name is Saki, and because they really want to save the girl, but they know if they do it, they'll give up their identity, and everyone else will be hunting them if they somehow escape Polyman alive. So because nobody comes to help, Polyman of course kills the little girl. And that, like I said, this part right here with the whole stadium really solidifies Metro Polyman as a villain. And most of the other guy candidates, they either agree with Polyman and what he's doing, or really disagree with him. And because of this allows Saki and Mirai to get a new teammate, which is a pretty good teammate that they definitely needed, which is this guy right here, and his name is Mukaido. And Mukaido, he's an older man and he suffers from cancer, and the way he was gonna try and kill himself was just stop taking the medicine to postpone his cancer from getting any worse. But he's an older man, he has a kid and his wife is currently pregnant, but he agrees with Mirai and Saki's plans to stop Polyman, but he doesn't have the ideals of, yeah, let's do this without any casualties. He just wants to kill Polyman because he wants to do what's best to protect his family, and there's nothing wrong with that, really. Mukaido is really one of my favorite characters in this manga because he's just so straightforward and a really cool dude, honestly. He doesn't have the ideals like Mirai, but he's not evil like Polyman. He's like really set in the middle, in between the two, and he is a very realistic character because, like I said, whereas Polyman and Mirai are like two far ends of the spectrum, he's like just nicely in between the two, which is really good, and I like it. Having a character like that who can play off of the main character's ideals of being a good guy, but is more kind of relatable in a sense than the main character, whereas the main character is really straightforward and wants to be heroic and whatnot. Mukaido sees the more realistic route, and like I said, just wants to get rid of Polyman because he wants to protect his family. And eventually they do team up, all three of them team up, and they try to stop Polyman, but Polyman is really leaps ahead of them. Honestly, he is ahead of them by so much. He's testing out his powers to see what he can do, and finds out a lot of things that his powers can do that the other characters haven't really tested or anything. And because of that, he is able to recruit people that aren't really god candidates, because there's a rule that if you kill another god candidate, you can get their wings and arrows, and you could give those wings and arrows, the extra sets that you have, to a person that's even just a regular civilian, which Polyman does in order to like I said, recruit more people on his side. And because the main group doesn't know this, they're kind of just stuck at just being the three of them. But they have Mukaido's angel. All of the angels kind of, specifically the first and special rank angels, all have like, they're known for something specifically. So like Nase is known as like the angel of truth, I think. Like she can see when people are lying or whatever. Mukaido's angel is the angel of knowledge, so she knows a lot of stuff. So they know that Polyman is able to recruit teammates that aren't really god candidates, but Polyman ends up recruiting this one character who used to be a murderer, and he gives her a pair of wings and arrows, and basically she starts just doing her thing, killing people. And Polyman used this as a bait to draw out Mirai and them, because he knows that there's going to be some god candidate with very strong ideals of being a hero, and he capitalizes on that moment. But even though Mirai has white arrows, like I said, which are able to kill whoever he wants to kill, despite having the white arrows, he is unable to kill anybody, and doesn't feel like if the push comes to shove, he won't be able to kill Polyman, even if his teammates are in danger. And this holds him back as a character from being able to do anything that would really like push the story. He becomes more of a reactive character as far as a character that pushes the story forward. It's like the story kind of pushes him forward, and Polyman does something and then Mirai has to do something, cause and effect kind of thing. And not saying that makes Mirai a bad character, but it makes him very weak. Like I said, to avoid spoilers, I don't want to talk too much about it. So far, everything I've talked about is covered in the first 3 volumes, and I think that's a really good starting point. Just check out the first 3 volumes, or I want to say that's maybe like the first 5 or 6 episodes. I would say definitely that the manga is better than the anime, mostly due to Obata's art, as well as the anime has a bit of CGI in it. Nothing wrong with that. They really only do CGI on Metro Polyman, and it's not too bad. I've definitely seen worse CGI, to say the least, but I would definitely recommend checking it out. Whether you want to check it out by the anime or the manga, either one I think is a really good starting point. And if you really do end up enjoying the anime, check out the manga. Vice versa, if you end up enjoying the manga, then check out the anime. But that's really all I gotta say about Platinum Men. Like I said, it's a pretty cool story. Nothing too crazy about it. It's not anything brand new. If you enjoyed Mirai Nikki, I would definitely recommend checking this one out too. But that's all for me. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Hit the subscribe bell to see more. And leave a comment down below on how you feel about Platinum Men if you've read it, or if you got any manga recommendations. But it's Simon Sabro signing out. I'll catch you on the next one.